Time, Richard.
And we are live. Um, Richard Hoffman here with Zeeshan Saeed. Is that the correct pronunciation
That
of your last
is
name?
perfect, Richard.
There we go. I warned you. I start off with a few bad jokes, so it doesn't make a difference who it is. But I'm going to start off that way. I went to the doctor today. He said I have some good news and bad news. I of course asked him for the bad news. He told me I have partial short-term memory loss. I responded to the doctor, "Oh no, what's the bad news?" The same doctor told me that I was as healthy as a horse with kidney stones. And later that day, I thought I specifically mentioned that I needed new glasses. Yes, said the bank teller, and this is the bank. Anyway, thank you for tolerating those. Um, Now, I know you're affiliated with Quantum Biopharma. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and your company?
So, I'm the founder. I've been with Quantum previously. It was called FSD Pharma. I'm
I think Jason Sawyer just joined us.
Yes, Jason is our head of finance and M&A.
Okay.
Very articulate. Also has a very good grasp on market manipulation and what's going on in that area. That's why I wanted him to join, as well as there you go. There's Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Thank you.
Nice to be with you. Sorry that took a little bit to get on.
Yeah, that was on my side, so I apologize. We had a little technical difficulties on my end. I appreciate
N-
your patience.
No
Um,
problem.
okay, you can go ahead and tell us a little bit about the company you were going forward.
So Quantum is basically a research and development company, specialty biopharma. Our main molecule is yeah, the one we are taking through the clinical trial process is a small NCE patented. We've got the worldwide rights, and that can treat, not cure, I would say, but treat MS in a way that has never been done before. All the treatments out there are immunomodulators, which suppress the immune system basically. But our molecule is shown in animal models to stop demyelination, the neurodegeneration of myelin, which is a thing around your nerves and neurons. And it has shown because of that remyelination to occur. So if you go on our website and you see this experiment we did on this one particular mouse we put as an example, we've done on hundreds, that it was induced with MS-like symptoms, and after treatment with our molecule, it was running and it had paralyzed legs and
I'm
tail.
going to
It
add
was,
that Kevin Malone is
oh
here
yeah,
also. Just
that's Kevin.
I see his name.
Yeah.
Hi, Kevin.
How we doing? Not
Good afternoon. I don't think we've ever met, but I'm Richard Hoffman. Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Richard. Pleasure.
Appreciate it. Um, it's interesting is I have I think my niece by marriage, she has MS. So, and she
Oh,
lives in, I think,
oh,
Tennessee. She's treated. I mean, she gets by, but it's quite a effort for her, and she doesn't have a bad case. But
it's a very debilitating disease. It's there is no cure really. All, like I said, all cure, they thought it was an autoimmune disease. We think it's not. We think it's a neurodegenerative disease, and that's the thesis our
I see.
molecule is based on. Um, if successful, and hopefully we should be entering phase two in some time soon. We hope to really, we'll try to save many lives. This can save potential many lives, and full functional recovery in animal models was observed. And if you translate that into human terms, think about a guy sitting on a wheelchair with MS deteriorating should be able to walk in 6 months, hopefully. So I'll let Jason take it from here. He's very good. He's very good in articulating. Jason, Richard wanted to know about our company. I told him you are handling this side. You have a very good grasp on market manipulation, also invited Kevin for the same reason, because
Yeah.
who knows more about market manipulation in our circle than Kevin, I guess. So Jason, maybe you can take it from here, explain about
Yeah.
unbuzzed and what
And
are we
before you start, just kind of give me where I kind of fit in. So I got involved, good or bad, with MMTLP. I was a shareholder, and I ended up in a bunch of legal proceedings. Went through, had some fun with FINRA, did arbitration, did a bunch of legal proceedings, and then I got into GTII. GTII also with a combination of issues involving, some of it is management, some of it is regulators, and some of it is government, kind of a mixed bag. So part of the reason why I was really interested is because I know that you've experienced problems, and I'm really interested to hear what your angles are. So Jason, go for it.
Yeah, is that it's great to be here, by the way, and I feel like I'm in a scene from Back to the Future. I'm dissolving and reappearing, and having not been on StreamYard before, I didn't have the background there, so forgive me if I'm distracting everybody with that. But it's not my department, as they say. So Richard, is it best for me to focus? Zeeshan's given an outline really of our flagship platform, Lucid MS, and I think everybody listening and watching got a bit of a flavor for the level of innovation and science. But where am I best to focus for the audience here? Obviously, as everybody knows, Kevin's on, and his experience with and his ability to articulate the things that are happening in market manipulation cases, not only with quantum, but the markets in general, the naked shorting, the spoofing that's happened, which we've certainly been a victim of, and we can talk about that case. But where would you like to point me on?
Yeah, maybe we could
to start.
maybe we could start off with you kind of being specific to quantum, and then we can go to Kevin to be broader as to kind of the market issues, and maybe some suggested solution. Partly kind of the idea is to get this solved, right? To make sure that's not a problem. So ultimately, kind of we work out some resolution. So maybe you could start, Jason, then Kevin, if that's okay, you can follow up.
For sure. I'll just give a little bit of my background and how I came to be involved with Zeeshan and his team at Quantum about a year ago. I've spent my entire career in alternative investments, starting out in venture capital in the early 1990s. So all I've really done in my career is be around companies from capital formation through to, in some cases, massive success. I think I have an understanding of what that recipe looks like in a lot of different shapes and forms. I've not always been in biotech, but Zeeshan and I go back about a decade and a half. And when he told me, I knew the origin story. I'd followed the origin story of he and his partners and the change to innovative healthcare, to wanting to do things that solve problems in humanity, in health and wellness, and to understanding Lucid MS and the incredible potential it has to solve on a therapeutic basis multiple sclerosis and possibly other central nervous system disorders and diseases. And so about a year ago, we started working to convey this message in its new form to the street, as it were, to investors of all shapes and sizes, but now pointed squarely at sophisticated healthcare, biotech, biopharma. We're a biopharmaceutical research and development company looking to commercialize or move towards commercialization, go through the regulatory process that all drugs have to go through to hopefully solve this problem for the 3 million people afflicted by MS globally. And this science comes out of University Health Network in Toronto, Canada. Our head of science, Dr. Lakshmi Kotra, is a medicinal chemist and a professor. He has done this before with a small molecule. Our drug falls into that category and is a patented new chemical entity. You probably don't hear that every day. What it means is, prior to us dosing that, the sentinel dose, which is the first time a human ingested it, it had never been ingested by a human before. So this is unique. It is real innovative and complex science with scientists who've done it before. I think that's the most important thing to understand. So the company, of course, trades on NASDAQ and has also innovated in the area of alcohol metabolism. And about 3 years ago, started working on what is now a patent pending rapid alcohol detoxification beverage. It's a dietary supplement. It's not a drug, but it's called Unbuzzed for very obvious reasons. And so if you find yourself a little more buzzed, completely inebriated, just unpleasantly, you've used alcohol to the point where it's not pleasant, or you just want to get back to your full mental clarity and cognition, and feel better and sharper. We have taken this, and although it's not a drug, we've taken it through a full clinical process, randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled crossover study that's now proven that you can get from a higher blood alcohol content to considerably lower much faster than the human body can do naturally, 40% faster in a 30-minute period. It also has, and people are familiar with, just hydration, electrolytes, finding a way to feel better the next day and not have as much of a hangover. Right. But this is also a phenomenal product for that. We're obviously not CPG specialists or a bottling company. The idea here is always innovative science. And so the science team brought this forward, formulated it, got a fantastic flavor profile for this that, unlike a lot of solutions, a lot of products in the space, this actually tastes good. It's nice to drink. It's refreshing. And our viewpoint was, let's find some people who've done this before. Let's get it out there into the market, de-risk it for the Quantum company and shareholders. And so we licensed it to a company that's called Unbuzz Wellness. Expert marketing team, 6+1, that had worked on things like vitamin water and other brands that everybody listening is going to know, came up with a great marketing strategy. And that team at Unbuzz consists of a 20+ year veteran executive from Coca-Cola and a gentleman by the name of Jerry David, who took a little known company called Celsius, that everybody, of course, knows, and peaked at $21 billion market cap last year. And so we have this really awesome team that's taking this product to market, where Quantum owns a significant amount of the equity, a little under 26%, which is undilutable until it achieves a very substantial market cap valuation or exit of $1 billion, and a 7% gross royalty. That's going to see us take 7% up until the first $250 million of royalty streaming has come into to Quantum. So that's a little bit about our company and the two major platforms.
When do you expect that to hit the market?
It is in the market. It was soft launched really at the end of Q3 into Q4 last year. It's on Amazon and unbuzz.com. It is shipping. And we have also, I should mention, involved with Unbuzz Wellness is Kevin Harrington, who was responsible for really driving social media, digital marketing, and the campaigns that took Celsius from zero to hero. And the parallels here, by the way, are Jerry David, Kevin Harrington, John Duffy, the CEO of the company, who comes from the Coca-Cola organization. They've done this before, and Celsius entered the market with 5 clinical studies on their hero ingredient that said there's low cal, no cal, and negative cal. And if you drink this, not only does it have very low calories or no calories in its original formulations, and now tons of flavors, but you'll burn more calories in and around your workout just by consuming this beverage. So negative calorie. They had clinical studies on that. They went out. They taste fantastic. Jerry took a shuttered company that hadn't sold a product in a year and turned it around and created this fantastic functional beverage company. So that's what Unbuzzed is. It's a functional beverage for rapid alcohol detox. And if you want to feel better the next day and not nearly as hungover, in some cases not hungover at all, even if you've consumed maybe more than you would have liked to, then you drink Unbuzzed. And so that's going to be heading into the market.
I would think that would be a popular drink in bars and restaurants at near closing time. And
Exactly. We want to align it with places that people drink, whether it's the golf course or whether it's an office luncheon. Head out to lunch, and I decided to have a couple of glasses of wine, and I need to be sharp in the afternoon. This is what you use, and it's the first of its kind to do exactly what it says it does, and to be clinically proven in doing so.
Okay. How about on the securities end? The securities end, would that be more that Kevin would be able to talk about, or yourself?
Yeah. Well, let me just
We
set it
can
up.
all talk about it.
Yeah.
Depends on the
Yeah.
question what you need to ask. Yep.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
know you're involved in a spoofing lawsuit. Maybe you can kind of talk about that and maybe jump off from that as to the issues in the marketplace. Maybe Kevin, you could talk about that a little bit.
So Kevin, I can take the lead
Okay,
and you guys
You
can
got it.
talk about the general market. So
that's fine.
look, so it happened like a few years ago when we were like whatever we did, the price of the stock would constantly go down. So we started investigating, right? And we didn't know what was going on. I sat on, look, that's why it's so hard for normal people to understand that even I, being on the board and a founder, didn't really have a clue on what was really going on. So
I
we
saw, by
then,
the way, I saw at one point in time the stock was at 460 a share,
yes,
$460 a
yes,
share. How many years ago is that?
that's 7 years ago. The market cap was over $1 billion. It was, look, it could be high because we caught that cannabis run. We were previously a cannabis company and
Right.
pivoted towards biotech. It was a medical cannabis company. But having said that, there was constant, and there were sometimes analyst reports would come out that we had a class action lawsuit. So we were kind of being attacked, is what I've started to um, get out of this. So we came across David Wenger, share and tell. We started sending letters of imbalances. He has a proprietary system of,
Right.
calculating imbalances. Um, these guys to the brokers, and these guys, they don't even many times respond,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Let alone, do something about it. Then I started more aggressively. I took screenshots of, there was this bank which was really predatory, aggressive, constant. There was, seemed like an algorithm. In fact, someone said this is an algorithm, we can't do anything about it. I spoke to them
Hmm.
and sent them screenshots and started sending letters. And um, I didn't think the banks were involved, honestly. I thought that someone was using their system. So I'm
Hmm.
trying to tell, look, someone is using your system, please have it stopped. And I don't want anything. I even sent a mail. I won't even call you. I won't even send you another email. Just let it stop. I want to work on this, getting this molecule to market, maybe
Right.
do something. Um, After that, they shorted me even harder, like a slap on the face, as if to, how come you dare even ask us? And that's when it was like, okay, we have no choice. They
How
are
many years
not
ago
going
is
to.
about how many years ago is that?
So this was in 2023 Feb when I called the banks, and then I realized that they might be
Right.
also involved
Who
with
do
something.
you know who the was that who was the institution? Do you know?
It was CIBC.
Okay.
Okay, so and so we then, so the challenge, look, I'll tell you the challenge of a company and why it's very hard for someone to file a case. The data is not available. It's very hard to get data. You have to actually buy it. And then it's very expensive to analyze
Yeah.
that data. For example, in the case of spoofing, I'll give you an example. Just to analyze 1 day of data, the analyst or the expert, this is a world expert, I won't take his name here, we hired, his computer crashed with a 1.5 terabyte RAM. Imagine.
Did his
It,
last name start with an H? No. Okay.
you know him,
Yes,
trust me.
I do.
But um, so these are world experts we're talking about in
Yeah.
the field of their analysis. That's why do you think the law firms took it on contingency? We have very compelling data and analysis done. But what I'm trying to say is it's very difficult to get data. It's very expensive to get the analysis done. And then if the damage model is not over a certain limits, you won't. So it was all a risk
Yeah,
that we
GTI.
took.
Yeah, just to kind of like put it in context, GTII had a spoofing case using the same counsel as you guys are using, and it ended up being the damages were difficult. It was a difficult to prove damages, and that was the end of the case. If because it
That
becomes
yeah.
it's
Well,
so expensive, time consuming, distracting. It's not worth it at some point.
there is very it's very difficult if the litigation funders do not come in and fund you, because the banks will make it as long, as difficult, as
Yeah.
costly as possible, right? They don't have problems with money. We were lucky enough, they have a rating system. We were lucky enough that our case was rated A something. So the funders all wanted the case after, but we did extensive analysis for almost like months and months before um, the law firms committed to take it on contingency. And I guess I'll leave it from here. Jason, you guys, Kevin, you can talk broadly on market manipulation and the effects.
Yeah, you want to pick it up, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing if you were already in MMTLP and GTII, that most of your followers know about market manipulation. Do you have any more specific questions on it? Because obviously the broadness is
Yeah, I
something
mean,
most people watching probably know.
yeah, people have tried. There's been all types of attempts, with dividends and various techniques to try to expose the real numbers. Do you have any thoughts about our tactics that haven't been used that that might be successful in the future in this
Yeah,
area?
yes.
Okay, not something you want to disclose.
So Kevin is one of the guys who can come up. So the system is like this, Richard. Anything that puts a squeeze on them, these guys evolve and then find a way around it. So nothing can work twice. Remember, special dividend by Patrick Byrne worked.
Yeah.
They found a way around it. Then GameStop, the buy button thing was a serious issue. It's not anymore. They have it in their contracts now that they can switch it off or something. So Kevin is one of the guys who can find a new way, and that that can work.
He's not
Only a
going to
new
tell
way
me
can
that
work.
until he does it, which I understand. Makes
Yeah,
perfect
he
sense.
cannot.
It makes perfect sense. I know it's like really frustrating though, because people come up with all kinds of ideas, and it's kind of like, I hear it. Somebody predicts like something is going to get a short squeeze, and as soon as it's announced, whoever's basically at risk then does whatever they need to do to protect themselves. So it's kind of the same thing. You have a solution. As soon as you announce the solution or go forward, they're going to find some counter to it. So you're right. It's like a one wearable. You got one wear on this. I find it super frustrating. And the thing that I find that's really that makes things much more difficult is FINRA having immunity. And so basically being out there where I know the company company can do it much more directly, but shareholders, because we've tried, shareholders, when they try to go after the information, till you bang your head against the wall, FINRA has immunity, so they just don't cooperate. The arbitration system, since I've experienced it, the arbitration system it allows you whatever the arbiter decides what you're allowed to. And because I had the case in MMTLP where the arbiter refused discovery, period. So nothing. And I was curious, and I filed all kinds of, I was testing the process more than anything else. And then in the end, I noticed that they charge a fee up front, like whatever the fee is. Let's say they charge $2,000. If you file a motion, the arbiter doesn't get paid. So I wonder how encouraged are they to read anything, especially if nobody's going to kind of like intervene at any point in time. And the way arbitrations work, if you go to court, they're very difficult to overturn. So there's a high burden. We have a new SEC chairman, Mr. Atkins. Does anybody see that he will be helpful in exposing the issues that we're all interested in. Anybody can go.
All right.
Look,
I'll
I
take it.
would refrain from commenting anything on regulators myself,
Attaboy.
and honestly, I have not had a bad experience so far. So
Okay.
that's the honest truth. So uh, Kevin can have his own viewpoint, others can have, but
Uh, Obviously extremely hopeful, especially appointed by Trump. We had Trump and RFK Jr. and everyone calling out the naked short citadel last year, but it's just been like a political race promise so far, like always. Like healthcare, like gas, like student loans, like everything else. And my theory has always been that the problem is so big and deep that it cannot be just flipped off.
Yeah.
Like that you can't fix it. I asked Patrick Byrne on my interview with him. I told him I've been thinking about this every single night for 2 years. How do you fix it without breaking it? He said you can't. Like, it has to break. It's so big and so corrupt behind the scenes that it cannot just be fixed. And I know they're working towards it because of the adoption of blockchain, but and I know that the future is going that way, but it's probably just been lights on 24 hours a day in the offices trying to figure out how to do it.
I'm sure. Jason, do you have anything to add?
Well, I agree that it's entirely systemic. I don't think that that anybody has like Kevin said, it's huge. There are places in the world that have stepped in and stopped, as you know, stopped all action. I think just naked shorting is one aspect of it alone. And as we move toward AI, I'm encouraged by the prospect of blockchain because obviously, immutable things are, and the ability to identify all of that and not manipulate it is exactly the point of blockchain. So I think that the faster it gets there, because the concern now is when you can submit 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 fake orders per second, that obviously goes to psychology and sentiment. You can change the psychology, the sentiment, and the thought process on any owner of a security, and change their perspective and their risk tolerance. And then you have AI stepping into that, which is inevitable. It could be catastrophic, and I don't know if it's been properly thought through before. And I, like Zeeshan, I refrain from. I'm encouraged to see regulatory bodies turn over new people, new thought processes on it, and I'm hopeful. But when you're not talking about a 10 or $50 billion problem, you're talking about a problem that in some places, it's economy altering because of access to capital, lack of access to capital, because you're running young, vulnerable companies into the ground, and you cannot do that for long in a world that's now moving at the speed of AI. You better be able to innovate and move those companies along through the process. And if they don't have access to capital, they die on the vine. That becomes a real societal problem. So it needs to get fixed. The impetus is there. We're talking about it. We talk to hundreds of other people, senior people in corporations, board, governance level. I sit on board, et cetera. Everybody's talking about it. So I'm hoping that the zeitgeist here takes over and there's a real solution that comes. But we remain hopeful, and we're championing the cause and putting our money where our mouth is.
Just so you guys don't have to say anything I could say, and because you guys are good with all the regulators. I'm not a big fan of any of those agencies, and I'm certainly not a fan of their ability to kind of go from the financial industry to the regulatory agency and back, because to me that's just asking for inability to be able to manage a system, and that as of now that's the way it exists. So I'm hoping that the conflict of interest that I think currently exists, they're kind of wiped out with some future legislation. I'm hoping. And I know it's a complex issue, and the concern I have, unfortunately, is that same technology, just like the speed of trading today, that same technology, the bad guys can use that same technology and the same AI, and I think it's going to be a battle ongoing, just with different tools, different parties, but it's a battle. And I heard recently, and I was kind of surprised by this stat, and I don't know if this reflects any of this, but that in the United States there is, I think, 90% of companies worth more than 100 million are private, so they don't go public anymore, and that the relative amount of retail in the regular markets is higher, and the amount of institutional clients has kind of moved to the private side. Dark pool. We see it. We're aware of it. That also concerns me. If they abandon our system and they move to their own system. I know that there's been talk about that new stock market in Texas. Anybody aware of that? Know anything about that?
I heard about it.
I think it's going to be pure corruption. Yes,
Okay.
Citadel and dark pool markets heading to Texas. Everyone's pulling out of Delaware on their companies, and there's something in the back door of Texas going on that does not look good with the amount of companies that are there. Not to mention Fidelity and Schwab are across the street from each other.
That's true. Well, I think a lot of companies left or starting to leave Delaware after Elon Musk's pay package dispute, and he was annoyed because it was costing him billions. But people who were in the position of being a CEO had a lot of money at risk. If they could find a different jurisdiction, Texas was one, Nevada, there's a couple that were much more lenient to management, to senior management. But I understand, part of like retail is talking about they want new regulation, or new regulators, but the new regulators have to provide regulation, not just disinterest. I don't want somebody in there who's, he's not corrupting, but he's doing nothing for anybody. And to this point in time, I don't see a particular change. And I'm aware of things going on in MMTLP and people having, kind of what Kevin was talking about or alluding to, that there's a lot of discussions going on, and perhaps I'm hoping they will amount to a change. But kind of what you said, I think, is true also, that the backside of this is so enormous that if you dealt with it, it's just not, you can't deal with it. So that's a collapse. Maybe on the front side, you can kind of start to clean up things on the front side so that you don't continue the mess. But I agree with you. I think there's so much capital at risk that it can't be undone without causing dramatic impact. And that's the United States. I don't know how it would be elsewhere. And obviously, if the United States has that kind of problem, the world has that problem at that point in time.
Yeah.
And they do with the size of our market.
Yeah.
Richard, you know what the highest revenue industry is in the world?
I don't.
Failures to deliver. Over $1 trillion a month is made in items sold that were fakes.
Yeah, that's obscene. It's also obscene that FINRA takes the position that if a short goes out of the United States, it doesn't exist anymore. No more. It's off the books. Yeah. I like how old's is that your son or daughter?
That's my daughter, Benelli.
Oh, there she is. How old is she?
She is 1.5.
Nice. I was going to say 2. That looks like a 2-year-old. Yeah, that's nice.
She's getting big.
Yeah, they all do. Besides what we talked about, any suggestions or anything else you want to add about your company, about the problems in the market, anything like that? And anybody could jump in.
I spoke to John Forrester, and also Roger Hamilton of Genius, and trying to speak to other CEOs. Also, Russell Starr, who was the previous CEO of DeFi Technologies. And we have started collaborating. And I think that is important, that companies and retail should unite. Then it will become a big force, an unstoppable force. Because right now, all of us are fighting our own wars individually, and these guys are all unite,
Yeah.
right? So if we unite, then it will become very hard to ignore. It will become a force.
I think, just my opinion, just from dealing with for guy, I know John Forster also, um, dealing with him and kind of like the shareholders. I think there is a huge number of retail shareholders that are looking for somebody to kind of lead the way, and that they will be all in if they really feel it. They'll be all in. Like Forster and GTII, people believe they feel he has their, you can't tell how it's going to work out. Yeah, maybe it's not going to work out, but at least they feel like that the interests are in common. And there's a lot of people, and ultimately, you know Congress people, it comes down to votes. And if you can make them believe that you have influence over the outcome of elections, it's effective. It works. And I agree.
Yes.
I think a united front between retail and management, companies, whoever else wants to join the fray, I think that could be an unstoppable force.
That is, I think, the key. There are very good groups out there. Shaughnessy is doing a great job. There is Stephanie. I'm in this group called Retail United. Before they had retail, but they now want to bring in CEOs. So there is a movement going on, and we see a lot of hope in the future.
Okay. Jason, you want anything you want to add?
No, I think I've we've covered all of the details on that. We just the I guess the overarching theme is, if you don't have capital markets, unfortunately, you don't have society anymore. And that the reality is, you can, all the private equity guys who say looks pretty dangerous over there. Are they just going to swap multi-billion-dollar companies around privately until valuations there are, untenable? Then where do you put your capital? There has to be an outlet for it. So this must be fixed. Or unfortunately, like you said, the failure is catastrophic, and you're into a rebuilding everything phase. So before that happens, I hope somebody's running the math on this.
Yeah, I agree. Kevin, you want to add something?
I'm running the math on it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I like to, I know you're involved in litigation, right? You're in ongoing litigation now. I think it was filed in 2024, last year, I think.
Well, we filed a complaint in 2024, and then they filed a motion to dismiss in
Right.
which they really wanted to change the jurisdiction. So we thought that we would get more examples of, the jurisdiction we want to stay in, and we filed an amended complaint 31st May. So they have filed a motion to dismiss. Um, in reply to that amended complaint, our response to that motion to dismiss will be filed by the end of this month.
Okay. So
Um,
okay.
yeah.
So you'll have a ruling probably within the next 60 to 90 days.
So I've been told this year most likely we'll
Yeah.
have a ruling. That's what I've been told by the lawyers on the motion to dismiss.
Okay. And obviously,
That,
if you're, I hope you're successful. If you're
thank you.
successful with the motion to dismiss, obviously that really improves your position procedurally, and you can have discovery, and it may, it's much better. So I'm rooting for you. And
Thank
if you want to come on later, and when you have more information, or you talk
Sure.
about that, if you want to come and talk about the drug at some future point in time, the MS drug, I guess that's in the UK, or is it also being tested in the US?
The MS drug, no, we
Yeah.
have clinical trials. So we were doing our phase one we had the SAT study done in Canada, and then we had the MAT study done in Australia. So it's a Canadian uh, patented drug. basically.
Gotcha.
Coming out of the UHN, the University Health Network, which is the biggest hospital university network in Canada. I think it's in the top 10 in North America. It's huge. So that's our, I guess, crown jewel, I would say.
And I know, like in this country, I know that pharma is really difficult because you have multi stages you have to go through, and you have to raise money, and they are always attack. It seems to me, because I've followed a few that those companies get shorted a lot, and it's difficult because you got to raise cash at least multiple times to get through all the stages. It's difficult.
Constantly.
You don't
They
get
know it.
shorted if you're the ones that all of Congress bought, though.
That's true. That's true. That's true. They're very good. They're really good stock.
They're
pickers.
incredible.
Yeah, especially Nancy Pelosi should be at Fidelity, not here. Anyway,
Okay.
I appreciate all your time. Thanks for coming on, and look forward to seeing you all again. And good luck, by the way, Kevin, on whatever you're involved in. I wish you success.
Appreciate it.
And again, we'll talk soon. Be well, everybody, and take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you
Take
for
care.
having us, Richard.
My pleasure.